name is Natalie. I'm from Russia, and I do lives with our Tahiti and hula dancers and teachers from different countries. And today we have an interview live with Aimee Cebreros from Mexico. Hello. Let me introduce to you Aimee Cebreros from Mexico. And today we will have an interview with she. In a few minutes, she will add to our live, and we will start. And all video from my lives are saved on my YouTube channel, and active link is in my bio. Hello. Hello.
Hello. Hi.
Hi.
Good night for you. Good night. Good morning for me.
Yes, there is 12 hours difference between our time zones, but okay, I'm very happy that you agreed to participate in such lives because it's very interesting for me that girls from different countries are learning our Tahiti technique.
Thank you. Thank you for your interest, and thank you for creating a platform so people around the world, we get to learn what people around the world are doing and how motivated they are and to keep dancing. So this is very interesting. I look forward to today's chat that we're going to have.
Okay, and I will give you some questions, but I have to translate it into Russian because not of my followers understand English. Okay, tell us about your experience learning Tahitian dance. At what age did you start to learn them, and who was your first teacher? And have you had any other dance experience besides or Tahiti?
I started dancing like when I was really little, just like hip hop for like maybe a couple months. But my mom used to dance Polynesian dancing before she got pregnant with me. So when I was able to dance around like 4 years old, she brought me to where she used to dance here in Tijuana, Mexico. And I started with them, and then a couple years later, we moved to San Diego, and I moved to dance in San Diego, California. But it was mainly because of my mom. She danced because the studio was really close to her community, so it just worked out for her to join and start dancing. And then she really liked it. So when she knew she was going to have a girl, she's like, "Yes, I'm having a dancer." So I continued to dance
Okay,
because of her.
let me translate because I have a short memory. Я спросила у Эми, с какого возраста она начала танцевать, и были ли у нее какой-то другой танцевальный опыт, кроме Ори Таити. Она сказала, что ее мама танцевала полинезийские танцы, и даже когда она была беременна, она танцевала, поэтому даже до рождения она начала танцевать, и когда они с семьей переехали в Сан-Диего, Калифорния, там Эми продолжила обучаться полинезийскому танцу. Okay, tell us about your Tahitian dance training in San Diego, California.
That was awesome. I was able to dance with them in competitions, go to workshops, and at that moment, competitions were barely starting, so they were very big. So for me to be able to be one of their lead dancers and really travel and bring Orititi to different parts, even going back to Mexico because they taught a lot of workshops there, was very big for me. It made me learn a lot about how big Orititi was, not just in my circle or my community, but everywhere around the world.
Я спросила у Эйми рассказать подробнее подробнее о ее обучении о Таити в Сан-Диего, Калифорния. Она рассказала, что там была очень большая танцевальная школа, и она была одной из лидирующих танцовщиц там. И с этой танцевальной школы они очень много выступали, ездили на соревнования, на мастер-классы, и также в Мексике посещали такие мероприятия, и она была удивлена, что так это широко распространено и, ну, и в Америке, и в Мексике, что это вот не просто вот какой-то локальный танец, а вот он широкое распространение имеет. Tell us about your dance school in Tijuana. What is this? What is it called? What does the name mean? And are there many students in your dance school?
So when my ratira from California, he once sat down with me and my mom, and he's like, you guys are really ready to open up your own studio. So he gave us his blessing. He gave us our name, and he approved our logo. So he was there for every step of our opening. Our name is Manava Polynesian Studio, and Manava is a greeting or welcoming someone. So it's a way for us to welcome people into Taiti and other Polynesian cultures, and just as an introduction, and hopefully they like it and they stay and they want to represent their culture. We have around, right now with the pandemic, maybe we have around 30. It's here in Tijuana starting in 2012.
Окей. Я спросила у Эйми рассказать подробнее о ее танцевальной школе в Тихуане, Мексике, и как она называется, что означает название и сколько студентов в школе. И она рассказала, что когда она обучалась в Сан-Диего, Калифорнии, в танцевальной школе, ее преподаватель сказал ей и ее маме, так как ее мама тоже танцовщица в Таити, сказал, что они уже готовы, что у них уже много опыта для того, чтобы открыть танцевальную школу в своем городе, в Тихуане. И вот они открыли, школа называется Манава. Это слово на таитянском языке означает приветствие, то есть вот что они приветствуют своих учеников, погружение в танец, погружение в культуру. Она сказала, что сейчас вот во время пандемии у нее около 30 учеников, а до пандемии было значительно больше. Okay. How common is Tahitian dance in Mexico, and how do you think what attracts women in this dance style?
It is very common. There's so many pupuori in Mexico. It is amazing. I don't know if you saw, but yesterday there was a competition, Heva San Diego, and out of the people, there was like 250 contestants, and out of those 250, maybe like 60% was Mexico, because they have so many dancers and great quality. So I think what it attracts many women is because Tahiti dancers are very passionate, and I think Mexican people itself are very passionate. So I think Tahiti is a way for passionate dancers to express their love for it on dance, either their expressions and their strength. So I think it's a very energetic way to do so. So yeah, I think Mexico is really good at demonstrating that on stage, and Tahiti as well.
Окей. Я попросила рассказать Эйме, насколько стиль Таити распространен в Мексике и как она считает, что привлекает женщин в этом танцевальном стиле. Она рассказала, что очень распространен этот танцевальный стиль, очень много танцевальных школ, и что привлекает женщин, это страсть, вот, говорит, очень эмоциональные мексиканки, и чтобы выразить как-то свои эмоции, вот танец в этом помогает им. То есть вот с эмоциональным состоянием очень близок он мексиканкам. Говорит, что среди мексиканских женщин очень много танцовщиц и таких вот уже профессиональных танцовщиц Таити. Они на разных мероприятиях, на разных фестивалях выступают, и также вот в Хэви Сан-Диего. And what kind of dance experience do you think helps, and which ones can hinder the learning Tahiti technique? What additional activities can you advise for those who have started to learn Tahiti, or are there enough lessons in the dance class?
Okay, that's a really good question. I think it's very important to have a balance between strength and graciousness. So I think it's important to have really strong legs, really strong core. That way you really control your upper body and it looks very simple and it looks very elegant. So I think some compliments of it could really be lots of leg workout and core workouts, but definitely also lots of like arm movement where you can really extend your arms and, you know, have that flexibility and elegance in the movement. So even I think if dancers, let's say, had danced contemporary before where they have really nice arms, or even ballet where they have really nice arms, I think it's a great compliment because they already have that side to it, and then they just have to really push on their hips and really make that strength on the lower part of the body. But I think having that balance between strength and graciousness and elegance is key for a really good, strong ODTT dancer. For me.
Я попросила Эйме рассказать, поделиться ее мнением, что, по ее мнению, помогает, какая техника танцевальная или, может быть, тренировочная, вот, ну, каких-нибудь спортивных направлений, что помогает в технике Ори Таити и что, может быть, мешает. И она сказала, что для техники Ори Таити у нас должны быть очень сильные ноги, очень сильные мышцы корпуса, пресса, ну, спины, чтобы корпус удерживать, но также очень важны мягкие, подвижные, гибкие руки. И, говорит, должен быть определенный баланс между тем, между силой и мягкостью. И, говорит, даже если бывает техника бедер недостаточно хороша, но если очень выразительные руки, это может, ну, быть дополнительным плюсом у танцовщиц. Tell us about the Heva in San Diego. How long has this festival been held, and how big is this festival?
So yesterday was the finals round. This year, because of COVID, they had to go virtual, but it was their 10th year anniversary. So this year was supposed to be a really big competition, which ended up being virtual, but they had a really good turnout. Every year, I feel like they have more dancers. Usually had, I think last year in person, they had around 300 and something contestants. So it's a lot of people competing, mainly solos. They're starting to bring groups. So it could be a balance of, you know, solos and groups during the weekend competition. But I really enjoyed this weekend's virtual competition because it really pushed people to keep dancing at home, to not, you know, sit down or just take a break. People really showed a lot of great quality dancing, and it really showed that even though they're at home, they really are passionate and they really like and really want to continue practicing Ori Tahiti. And it was amazing. Some dancers were so good. Their costumes, they worked with what they had. So it was a really great turnout this year. I'm really proud of it.
Окей, я попросила рассказать Эйме о фестивале Хейва в Сан-Диего, насколько он по длительности этого фестиваля и насколько он вообще большой, массовый. Она сказала, что в годы, которые, ну, перед 2020 годом, этот фестиваль проходил офлайн, то есть, ну, вживую, и сольных участниц было около 300, ну и также вот группы. То есть это довольно массовый фестиваль, и в этом году он проходит онлайн, этот фестиваль. Она сказала, что это отличная возможность, потому что сейчас нет возможности собраться все вместе живьем, и очень много сегодня, вот, по-моему, сегодня или вот на днях финальный раунд этого фестиваля, финальный круг уже, там финалисты выступают, и, говорит, многие девушки сделали костюм из тех материалов, которые у них были в наличии, это замечательно выглядело. And tell us about your victory in Heva San Diego competition. Was the competition difficult, and how many participants were in your nomination? What are the criteria for evaluating the performance?
So Heva San Diego, or the Miss Heva San Diego and Mr. Heva San Diego, they do it during the Heva San Diego weekend, but it's like a day separate. So it's a whole day dedicated to Miss and Mr. Heva. And the conservator were the judges for me. So teachers from the Conservatoire of Tahiti. So it was very interesting because my year was the only year that there was this many candidates. There was 13 girls who were running that weekend, where they usually have around 4 or 5. So my year, there was 13 of us running for Miss Heva. And they have a series of steps. So you need to apply first and send like an essay where you explain why you want to be Miss Heva. And then that weekend, you go through an interview with the judges. So they sit in a panel, and then you sit in a chair in front of them, and they just ask you whatever they want to ask you to see how much you know about the culture. And it's interesting because it really, you really have to set yourself apart from the rest. And they ask you from, do you know what the meaning of the flag is? Do you know what pejes do you know? What moves do you know? What words in Tahitian do you know? So they really want to see how involved in the culture you are. And then there's the dancing portion, there's a talent portion, there's a creation costume where you need to create a costume where people see who you are. So my costume, my mom made it, and it was based on corn husk, which is a very important aspect in Mexican culture, and coconut husk, a very important aspect in Tahitian culture. So it turned out great. And then the last part is like a question, kind of like where you're watching like Miss Universe, where you pick out a question. So it was that. And yeah, so I was able to win, and I had the honor to win amongst 13 awesome girls. My title of Miss Heva San Diego, and I was a whole year of ambassador of Miss Heva and got to travel to Tahiti, of course.
Окей, thank you. Я попросила рассказать Эми о ее победе в фестивале Хейва Сан-Диего. Сколько там было участников, какие были критерии оценивания. То есть вот рассказать о ее участии в этом фестивале. Она выиграла титул Мисс Хейва Сан-Диего в 2017 году. И, говорит, около 30 претендентов было на эту номинацию. Целый день идет отбор участниц на Мисс и участников на Мисс и Мистер Хейва Сан-Диего. Оценивают преподаватели из консерватории таитянской, то есть вот, носители культуры. И кроме танца, там еще оценивают интервью. Каждый из судей спрашивает, задает различные вопросы, чтобы определить, насколько они вообще знают много о таитянской культуре. Как, например, что означает флаг, какие движения они знают. То есть очень много таких вот вопросов интересных, чтобы вот действительно выиграл человек, который разбирается в этой культуре. 4 или 5 отборочных туров проходит, и оценивается также костюм. По костюму оценивается индивидуальность, то есть так как Эйме мексиканка, в ее костюме было что-то из культуры Таити, это вот коконат бра, это лифчик из кокоса, и что-то вот от Мексики, определенные растения, которые растут на Мексике. Сказала, что это был довольно интересный опыт. Tell us about your studies in Conservatoire of Tahiti. Who were your teachers and how long did the training last? Has your dancing style changed after your trip to Tahiti and studying at the Conservatoire?
So definitely my travel to Tahiti expanded my knowledge based on Ori Tahiti. One thing is learning from people from Tahiti coming to teach here, but you going, just like you immerse in the culture and you really get to be one of them, you know. And I was there for 3 weeks, so it was a good time to really learn way more than what I would have expected. I was at the conservatoire. It was on and off because they were in regular classes, so I would attend like 3 days a week. But on the other days, I was going to different masters. I went to Tamariki Puerani and I took a class there. I took a class with Natalia Lova. So I really went around and took classes with masters who I admired to see also what it was like to dance with them in Tahiti, you know, to see how how they trained, how they spoke to their students. That whole experience was really amazing for me. And at the conservatoire, I took classes with Vanina, with Elena, and I even took some drumming classes. I'm very basic at that, but I really want to have the full experience. So it really, it did change my dancing just because I feel like I'm more grounded now. I kind of know where everything is coming from. I'm going way back to how it's taught. So I feel like I'm doing that with my students as well, where I really want to set the foundation first of why we're doing things. And that way they understand the culture too as we dance, not just dancing, but really bringing the culture into the dance. So I think that's really something I brought back from my trip.
Окей, thank you. И я попросила рассказать Эйми о ее обучении в консерватории таитянской, в танцевальной консерватории, так как вот после того, как она выиграла конкурс «Мисс Хэйвах» в Сан-Диего, призом была именно поездка на Таити и обучение трехнедельное в консерватории. Она сказала, что это было полное погружение в культуру, и 3 раза в неделю там были классы по расписанию, то есть вот групповые занятия, а во все остальные дни недели это были индивидуальные занятия с различными преподавателями консерватории, то есть они довольно известны. Я также спросила, насколько изменился ее танец после того, как она обучалась. Она сказала, что да, изменился, и больше появилась осознанности того, почему выполняются эти движения, как они выполняются, больше заземленности, то есть и она получила опыт того, как преподают таитянские преподаватели, как они общаются со студентами, больше понимания культуры пришло. То есть вот таким образом изменился. Больше понимания того, почему именно так танцуется, как нужно танцевать. То есть больше такого внутреннего ощущения того, что это все правильно делается. Okay, what new things did you learn about Tahitian culture while traveling in Tahiti? And how, in your opinion, is the difference between dance of a culture career or the Tahiti performance by foreign dancers?
I think that's very interesting. I feel like here, and speaking for my border, United States and Mexico, competition is huge. Competition is a big aspect. A lot of people dance to compete, train to compete. And a lot of people really, that's their focus. And I think when you travel to Tahiti, that's very different. Like from my experience, I saw that a lot of people do it because it's their passion, because it's their culture, because that's what they live for. And you can tell like people, day-to-day lives. I was there when they were training for Huratapairu, and I was able to attend a practice of Hitirava, and there it was raining. It was pouring rain, and their dancers were wearing pareos, and there was floor movements where they were like dancing on the floor, and they wouldn't care. Like they were soaking wet and dancing on the floor, and their ratira kaha would tell them like, don't sit on the floor, because they were wearing like white pareos. And they would still do it, and they would forget, and they would get up. And I noticed like their mentality is very like set to what their ratira is saying, and they're doing it because they love, not because they're an independent dancer and they're competing as a soloist. So I don't know if I explained myself, but they're very like as a group working towards one goal, not so much to win, but to really represent their culture in a really great way. And you can really tell that. So I think that really distinguishes us from here in California, where there's so many competitions, and in Mexico too, where there's so many competitions, and dancers' mentality could be a little more on themselves, so getting better for themselves, not so much as a group. So I think that's really something we can learn from them and really try to bring back, so we can have that same motivation and represent the culture the same way they're doing it.
Okay, thank you. Я попросила рассказать Эйме, что нового она узнала о танце и может быть, о культуре Таити после того, как она побывала на Таити, и чем, по ее мнению, различается танец от носителя культуры и танец от человека, от иностранцев. То есть она сказала, что очень отличается, то есть таитяне, они танцуют так, потому что вот так они живут, так они чувствуют. То есть, говорит, вот в Мексике много соревнований в Калифорнии. И там вот больше такой силен соревновательный дух, и вот чему стоит поучиться у носителей культуры. То есть они танцуют вот больше для себя, не для того, чтобы победить, не для того, чтобы быть лучше других. А вот когда танцуют в группе, они танцуют для какой-то общей цели, а не для того, чтобы выделиться. Она рассказала, что вот когда была на классах у Таити, вот именно в консерватории, какие-то моменты шел дождь. И они, ни преподаватели, ни студенты не обращали внимания на то, что мокро парео, и вот танцевали о воде, вот какие-то такие танцы, и получали удовольствие, не обращали внимания. Говорит, чтобы нести культуру вот в том виде, как танцуют носители культуры, надо вот больше спокойствия, больше направленности, может быть, внутрь себя, и танцевать для того, чтобы, для себя больше, то есть не для соревнования, то есть не в этом смысл танца. And what was the most memorable and impressive you in Tahiti?
What was the most impressive? A lot of things, but I think what I mainly took from it was a trip that we took to the heart of Tahiti. So we had to like get on a Jeep, and it was a whole adventure getting there. But that place really connected to the heart, to the culture, because we were in the middle of green areas and green mountains, like no houses and nothing. And we were able to visit Amarai, which is a very sacred place, and we got to see and learn, because who we were with, they really knew about the culture. So as we were walking, they were explaining lots of things, and all of our questions were very getting answers. They have a little community in the middle where we went to this house, and they cooked for us like very traditional food. We had uru, which is like that fruit that's like a bread. So we had uru that they cooked for us. So I don't know, that whole experience really made me realize how lucky I was to be able to be there, not a tourist place, not so much of, going to the beach or these nice places, hotels. It was very cultural. It was very enriching. And it really allowed me to connect to what I had learned, like about legends and like the culture itself. They mentioned a lot of names about like important gods and legends and stuff like that. So I feel like when I came back with my students, I was able to share pictures of what I was teaching, but real life pictures, so they could visualize and connect. So yeah, I think that whole experience was really cultural, enriching for me.
Окей, understand. Я попросила Эйми рассказать о самых запоминающихся, самых интересных моментах, когда она была, после ее путешествия на Таити. Она сказала, что было много таких моментов, но самое большое было ощущение погружения в культуру. То есть она вот жила среди этих людей, то есть они готовили традиционную пищу, вот ту, которую они едят обычно. То есть там плоды хлебного дерева они готовили. Потом природа ее очень сильно поразила, горы, и вот то, что она была именно в тех местах, о которых танец рассказывает, то есть ее не так поразили там пляжи или отели, как вот общение с людьми и погружение в эту культуру, когда она приехала уже в Мексику и объясняла студентам, как нужно танцевать, то есть вот было такое ощущение наполненности и понимания, откуда это пошло, то есть от самого вот сердца вот этой культуры таитянской. And what practical tips for what practical tips can you give for beginner dancer?
That's a really good question. I think beginner dancers should not push themselves where they feel like they're not getting anywhere, because I feel like Ori Tahiti takes a lot of practice and takes a lot of commitment and effort. You're not going to become a great dancer just by dancing a few hours and like once, twice a week. You really need to invest a lot of time to really become a good dancer, because as I said, it takes a lot of strength and it takes a lot of stamina. And I feel like you see all these videos online of really great dancers, and yes, they're great, but they're great because they really spend lots and lots of time of practicing and, you know, building muscle and building stamina. So I think taking it step by step and really listening to your body and training where you feel like you're really connecting to the culture and you're not just trying to have these really fast hips, really taking it slow so you invest in the culture. And knowing why you're dancing. I feel like that's a really great thing, because if you know why you're dancing, you're really going to motivate yourself to practice more, to really build those hips that you want. But I feel like you really need to know why you're practicing ODTT and why you're spending all this time. So I think once you do that, then you can start, you know, building muscle, really creating strong hips, you know, building that round fa'arapu that everyone wants, that strong, big fa'arapu. But it comes really from knowing why you're dancing and really staying motivated to train, because training is key to a great dancer. We see all these videos, and I'm sure we all want to have those strong fa'arapus, but it really comes from staying consistent and practicing a lot.
Окей, understand. Я попросила дать какой-то практический совет для начинающих танцовщиц, для тех, кто только начинает осваивать технику Ори Таити. Она сказала, что главный секрет — это очень много практики. Говорит, вы не станете хорошей танцовщицей, если будете там час в неделю заниматься или там пару часов в неделю по абонементу. Говорит, что это постоянная практика, и те танцовщицы, которые вы видите, которые вот известные и с очень хорошей техникой, она не берется ниоткуда, это очень-очень много часов практики. И говорит, но очень важно понимать, зачем вы танцуете. Это кроме изучения техники нужно погружаться в культуру, понимать, почему движения делаются именно так, а не как-то иначе. То есть, и постоянно задавать себе вопрос, почему вы танцуете, для чего вы танцуете. И также работать над корпусом, над ногами и над своей техникой. Говорит, ну, другого нет секрета. And how do you think there are certain active dances in hot tropical countries? After all, it's quite difficult to physically train and dance in the heat and with a great speed and amplitude.
That's a really good question, because right now it's getting hot here where I live, and oh my God, it is so hard to dance. You start dancing for a couple minutes and I'm soaked. So that's very interesting. But I think a lot of them dancing in tropical weather connects to great nature. You know, their environment has lots of nature, and it takes me back to when I was in Tahiti, dancing with lots of flowers and plants and things like that I feel like they are really connected to it. So they really are connected to their whenua, their land, and it's just a way of representing that, you know. I feel like when I dance and I put a fresh flower in my hair, it gives me a different vibe. Like it makes me feel like I have a little part of Tahiti on me when I'm dancing. Or if I put like monoe oil when I'm going to practice, it makes me feel like I have that scent, you know, like that little bit of Tahiti on me. So I feel like it's part of them. It's their connection to their environment. And I don't think they see it as, it's, you know, as I said, they're dancing in pouring rain, or they're dancing in super hot weather, because it's their culture and it's part of their way of living. They don't see it as it's hot, we're canceling practice. Like I thought they were going to cancel when it was pouring rain, but it's not like that for them. Like weather is not an excuse for them to not practice. So I think it's just part of their way of living. And as I said, I put a flower on my hair and I feel like I'm in Tahiti. So it's just it's their lifestyle.
Окей. Я попросила Эми поделиться ее мнением, почему вот в жарких тропических странах такие активные танцы, потому что вот достаточно тяжело тренироваться, ну, когда очень жарко, то есть это физически тяжело. И вот почему так, почему у них такие активные танцы? Она сказала, что это вот часть их культуры, что они очень связаны, ощущают очень большую связь с природой, очень много растительности, ну вот как я поняла, очень много вот энергии, они ее выражают именно через танец. То есть и для них не является оправданием там плохая погода или дождь, они все равно тренируются под открытым небом, то есть они очень с этим связаны, и вот таким образом они все свое ощущение вот выражают через танец. И она сказала, что вот когда она тропические цветы волосы себе украшает, то есть она чувствует себя частью этого танца и танцует уже по-другому. То есть это, ну, по ее мнению, это просто они так выражаются, связь с землей, так вот они чувствуют, поэтому так и танцуют. And what is important thing in performing Tahitian dance on stage? How do you think?
What is an important thing, you said?
What is the most important
Oh, the
thing
most
where?
important.
Mhm.
I think expression is key when you're on stage. Really expressing why you're dancing and your passion for ODTT. So it could be great dancer, but I feel like if there's a dancer that's really expressing and really, gracious and really, I don't know, that look in their face that they're enjoying it is a key on stage. I feel like dancers, that's why we dance because we're allowed, and it's a way for us to express lots of emotions through dance that maybe we can't say them in words, but dance is a way to transmit all these emotions. So I think sometimes, and any dancer, it becomes a lot more technical. So a lot of dancers want to have technique, which is great, but if you go on stage and you only show technique, you're only showing one aspect of dance. So I feel like a really, really important one, and I think I would consider it, is really expression. Having that facial expression, having expression in your arms and your movements, where you really show your essence, your why you're doing it, why you are even dancing ODTT. If it's not your culture, why are you doing it? What brought you to ODTT? And really express that to judges or to audience or to yourself. So I think that's a really important part of being on stage and showing that to the audience and to anyone.
Okay, understand. Я попросила Эми сказать, что, по ее мнению, самое важное при выступлении с стилем Ори Таити. Она сказала, что внутреннее ощущение, подача, вот экспрессия очень важна. То есть говорит, что очень много техничных танцовщиц, они классные, у них классная техника, но техника – это всего лишь один аспект из танца. И судьям больше всего запоминается ваша индивидуальность, ваша подача, как вы чувствуете танец, как он проходит, как эта вся энергия проходит через ваше тело, и что вы при этом чувствуете, как вы отыгрываете лицом, как вы все это показываете. Говорит, вот именно внутреннее ощущение, передача того посыла, культурного посыла, который вот заложен в танец. Вот это, по ее мнению, самое важное. And what inspires you to further develop in studying of this dance direction?
What inspires me now?
Yes.
I think, I don't know, it's a lot of intrinsic motivation. I feel like I've I've done this my whole life, and this is the only thing I know how to do that makes me passionate and makes me really want to continue learning. And I do it mainly for myself. It's satisfaction to learn more. I catch myself sometimes at night Googling things or opening up my books and reading because it's a lot of interest of me to continue learning, but also for my students. Since I am their teacher and I feel like I really need to continue learning and continue gaining more knowledge for them, to allow them to learn more and to bring the culture to them. I'm like that step. It's not like I know it all. I'm a continuing learner, and I feel like I will learn for my whole life, but I feel like it's a way for me to also bring the culture to them and to really allow them to learn a little more of what they're representing. So I think a lot of it is just my interest and my personal lifestyle, I could say, because as I said, I haven't done anything else but Taiti and Polynesian dancing since I was 4 years old. So I think it's a lot of my interest and a lot of me wanting to learn more, but at the same time for my students, so they could continue to learn.
Thank you. Я попросила Эми рассказать, что ее вдохновляет на дальнейшее развитие в изучении этого танцевального направления. Она сказала, что это вот ее сильный интерес ее вдохновляет. То есть она понимает, что она много знает об этом танцевальном направлении, но много не знает, и ей хочется учиться все больше и больше, но так как она является также преподавателем, ей хочется как можно больше информации донести до своих студентов и рассказать больше, чтобы они правильно танцевали, с правильной подачей, и много очень, то есть ее очень мотивирует развитие, чтобы можно было обучать. Ну и говорит, это вот самое большее, это вот ее личный интерес к этому танцу. And give any wish to dancers from different countries who are learning or Tahiti.
Can you say that one more time?
Give any wish to dancers from different countries who are learning or Tahiti style.
So I think it's awesome that they're learning Orititi. As for me, myself, that I'm not Polynesian or Tahitian at all. It's amazing that people around the world really connect with this culture, and I think just to throw it out there, to really connect with the culture, to not just dance to dance, but to really investigate, learn, follow great masters. There's now that with all this internet and with whole COVID, I feel like a lot of great masters really created a platform to learn from them. So either you're beginner, intermediate, or advanced, to really use these platforms to continue learning and to continue gaining more knowledge. I was able to take classes from amazing dancers who I'm sure that if it wasn't for COVID, I wouldn't have been able to take it online. I would have just been waiting for them to come nearby so I could travel and take the workshop. So really use this opportunity to gain more knowledge, investigate, and really try to learn more. So when you dance, it's not just dancing, but you're really representing a culture, and you know where your moves are coming from, and you know why you're doing it. So I think this goes for anyone, not just beginners, but anyone in general, to really gain more knowledge about the culture and do it the right way. So you know why you're doing it, and and you know where it's coming from.
Okay. Я попросила Эми дать какое-то пожелание танцовщицам из различных стран, которые танцуют стиль Ори-Таити. Она сказала, что она сама не является носителем культуры, так как она мексиканка, не является полинезийкой. Но единственный путь вот танцевать правильно, учиться у носителей культуры, то есть преподносить информацию правильно. Она говорит, что во время пандемии, во время ковида, известные преподаватели создали целые платформы для обучения, то есть и даже с различных точек мира начинающие, продвинутые танцоры могут обучаться у известных преподавателей, и говорит, что совет как для продвинутых, так и для начинающих танцоров больше изучать культуру, больше понимать, для чего эти танцы танцуются, почему именно так они танцуются, то есть вот изучать культуру, вот это вот, говорит, самый важный момент в этих танцах. Okay, it was very, very, very interesting for me because I'm a beginner, but I like these dances. They inspire me, and I feel connected with other people from different countries when I do some lives. Thank you.
No, this is great. I really appreciate you doing this, and And thank you for even bringing it to Russia, you know, to really having this translation where all these different parts of the world. To be honest, I didn't know there was already Tahiti in Russia. So for me, this is amazing to see how far this culture has gone and how much interest people around the world have. So thank you for creating this platform, and thank you for wanting to learn. I think that that's key. That's really key, to really investing in yourself and wanting to learn about people around the world and what people are doing. So just because you're a beginner doesn't mean that that you need to push yourself and, you know, be this great dancer. I think you're doing great by just wanting to learn people. So I really acknowledge that from you, and thank you for bringing me to Russia. I didn't know I didn't know I was going to do this during COVID. So for me, this is my highlight of COVID, being able to connect with people like you. So thank you, Natasha.
Well, the Tahiti style is not well known in Russia. Maybe 10 or less studios in all countries there exist, but there is an interest in this culture for these dances.
And that's where it starts from, with interest and wanting to learn more. So that's a huge step. Maybe someday you will be like Japan and Mexico with all these studios and groups. You never know.
Maybe sometime. Okay.
Well, thank you so much, Natasha. This has been great.
Thank you, Aimee.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.